Okay, everybody, look at this. We're on Instagram Live right now.
Oh my God, this is so exciting.
Yeah.
Welcome to another edition of Splitting Hairs with Max, Nicky, and Nickon.
As usual, I am Max.
I'm Nicky.
I'm Nickon. And
And
together,
we're Max, Nicky, and Nickon.
Okay.
Yay.
This
Still
is
need to work on that timing.
Okay, well, this is an interesting situation right now. We are recording, ourselves on Zoom, and we're recording ourselves and we're doing a live Instagram right now. So this will be an interesting thing. Okay, this has been an interesting thing because we are doing this. We have some feedback situation going on, but that'll just have to be, I suppose.
Well, no,
right?
Max, all you got to do is just turn down the volume on your phone.
Yes,
Okay.
Max and Nicky are in the same room. They're actually inches away from each other. There you go.
Let me ask you, Nickon, just to get a feel of this. Nickon, can you can you hear me through your phone right now?
I can take my headphones off and listen to my phone. If that's
Just
what you want.
to
Well,
be
no,
sure.
let's just ask the audience. Cammy, can
Yeah.
you hear us?
There we go.
Cammy and Bryce, can you hear us in the Instagram Live?
Just to be sure, because I just turned. I don't know if just turning down the volume of your phone also
you
turn
know
down the
what?
mic.
I'm gonna turn down the shit. Okay, I'll turn down the volume on my phone at least, so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
hear you through my. Maybe that
Yeah.
helps a little. I don't know. Is that better, worse, or the same? I can hear you.
I can
twice.
hear you twice. Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, because
Oh, because it's going through Nikki's phone and my phone.
right.
Why don't you guys both turn your volumes down too?
I
on
did
your
turn down my
phones?
volume, but it still is coming through two mics, which is an interesting thing.
Right,
because it's going through
Okay,
his-
so mute one of your your phones.
Nikki, yeah, you can mute your mic, Nikki.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Mute your mic.
Oh, I'm muted. Oh, great.
Well, this is off to a great start.
Hey, I'm always down for
even
trying
worse.
these new technological features. So
All right, guys. Well, I think we all got it figured out, right? So let's get into it.
Yes, yes.
So this is Splitting Hairs with Max, Nicky, and Nickon. And
And as usual, no, I'm kidding.
again,
so for those of you who are just joining us, this is our podcast we do on a weekly basis where we talk about...
Oh, what's up, Craig? Sorry, this is very new to me.
We talk about topics that interest us, and
Hello,
we go
Craig.
into some in-depth conversation about it, overanalyze, pick apart, deconstruct, and so on and so forth. And hopefully it turns into some enlightening conversation and maybe comedic too.
and as usual, tangents are
pressure.
formed,
Yes,
but no pressure on us. I guess is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So
Okay.
do we have
I need to say
any
that out loud.
sort of station business right now, as we like to call
Station
it?
business. Well, let's first thing to mention. Nikki and I have.
If you're in New York,
If you are living in New York on February 2nd, which will be in this coming week, Nikki and I
Thursday.
have our comedy and music show, Vintage Basement with Max and Nicky. We'll be returning after a 2-month hiatus at the Brooklyn Comedy Collective. And on
we
the
got
show,
quite a lineup.
great
for you.
lineup. We got Aparna Noncherla. We got Mike Hanford. We got who else do we have, Nikki? We have Vanessa Jackson
And we have Manolo Moreno.
and Manolo Moreno. And so that is a really hot lineup.
That'll be on Thursday, February 2nd at 8:30 p.m. You can get your tickets now at brooklyncc.com or maxandnicky.com.
That's right.
Whatever you prefer. Nickon, you got
Nickon,
any-
you
how
got-
you doing? You doing okay? How was
I
your
got no
week?
performances, but I neglected to announce this last week, but I have launched a sunglass company.
That's
There you
right.
go.
Yeah,
Yes,
we
yes.
saw. We got
Speak
the
on
email
that.
for it.
Speak
We
on
got
that.
the email for it.
Yeah, it's called Onus Optics, not to be confused with Anus Optics, which doesn't exist, but we've gotten plenty of comments suggesting it might. Yeah, and it's like a specific type of sunglasses that's designed to protect your nose from the sun. Craig, I have no idea how to... Oh, they're not in... crap, I don't have them on me. But Damn it. This is why I'm not in sales.
Well, tell them the website maybe. Or
Yeah, go to onusoptics.com. Onusoptics.com. You can also follow us on Instagram.
It's a great concept.
Revolutionary sunwear. I
think you guys should go on Shark Tank.
That's what a lot of people say. But I hear they take like a cut no matter what. Like just for putting you on TV, they take like
really? Oh, that's so
cut.
insane in the Marianas region right there.
Yeah, seriously. But we'll see. I mean, listen, it would be an honor to be invited.
Well, but hey,
so.
That could also boost your
sales
profile.
Yeah. That's the idea.
Well, so yeah, check that out. Say the name again of it.
Onus, not anus. Onus Optics.
Onus Optics. There you go.
Just a technical thing, Nickon. I think when you go up really close like that, that was what was causing it to spike.
Gotcha.
Actually,
but also this mic isn't going into my phone. Anyway, well.
No.
Anyway.
I'm talking about for later for the recording.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right.
Anyway,
because we do release this every Thursday.
You can check
as
us
a
out.
normal non-live podcast.
You can check us out on all the streaming sites: Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher. You can, if you're new to the
Google
podcast, check us out. Splitting Hairs with Max
SoundCloud.
and Nicky and Nickon.
And our YouTube channel, you can just go to.
But if they're listening to this, they already know all that, right? Or what?
Maybe, I don't know.
That is true. Well, no, if you're watching the Instagram live, you may not.
Hey, you know
then
what?
You might not know
Go
to
to-
follow. Right, that's true.
Okay.
Just
I'm
go to the
sorry.
link. Just go to our link tree in our profile, and Nicky.
The Splitting Hairs
Splitting Hairs
podcast
profile.
Instagram.
See if
It's
you
got all
like
the-
anything.
See whatever you want to do there. But
Yeah.
you know what? Let's get into what our topic is at hand. In fact, we haven't figured out our topic, and I think that was part of the fun.
We usually go into this with a topic in hand, but we thought it'd be fun to try to figure it out in front of all you guys. But in
Live.
the meantime, we have what we like to call the grammar corner, where we
grammar
sort
corner.
of talk about our pet peeves as far as grammar goes. I've got one that I'd like to bring up, but I've also got just well, maybe I shouldn't bring that up, but I've got a.
Oh, well, now you have
Now
to. Are you
everyone's
kidding
going to
me?
want to know.
Well, I've got something that's not a grammar pet peeve, but a fashion pet peeve that is just driving me nuts these past few weeks, and I've been seeing it on the subway a lot. So, grammar pet peeve. Let's start off. I know this is typical, but I've been hearing it for some reason a lot in the past week, and it's when people, and we've talked about this before, but it's when people.
Nicky, maybe look at your computers, and that's your primary one that
Right.
you want to look at.
It's when people say, like, he and I, when they really mean he and me, but when they say the I,
him and me.
or what? Yeah, they mean
him
him and me, but they say he and I, and it drives me nuts because it's almost as if they're trying to sound smart, but they're not. So,
Right.
for an example.
We talked about this before, though.
Yeah, it's similar to something we talked about, but this is live. This is different.
live.
It's
Okay, sorry.
For example, they'll say something like, he brought the pizza to Alice and I.
Yeah, that's just wrong.
And-
And you wouldn't ever say, he brought the pizza to I.
Or
You would never say that.
Or even
you wouldn't.
worse, something I noticed this past week. Somebody said, join Alice and I's podcast live stream. And I'm like,
it's terrible.
Alice and I's? What are you talking about?
That's insanity.
Anyway, I would prefer people to just use.
Incorrectamundo is what I say.
I would prefer people to just use me in all scenarios.
just default back.
even
to
if
that.
they're wrong.
Even if the me is wrong, just because it sounds more conversational, and they're not trying to sound
He
smart.
betrays an air of a pretentious air, even though you're actually wrong in the end, or a pedantic air, even though you end up being wrong. It's called it's known as hypercorrection, or I've even heard it known as hyperurbanism or overcorrection or something like that.
But I do.
When that happens, that phenomenon.
All you got to do
Yeah,
is
which
think
is
to
like
yourself.
you're just overcompensating. You feel stupid, and therefore you kind of like overcorrect.
That's right.
And sound even stupider by trying to sound smart.
Exactly. Just all you got to do is think about it. Take out the first part of the subject, or the receiving subject, and just put I in there. If I works, then it works. If it doesn't work,
be better at grammar.
So bring pizza to I. Does that make sense? No.
No.
So then bring pizza to Alice and I would not make sense. Listen to I's podcast. That doesn't make sense. So listen to Max and I's podcast. That doesn't make sense either.
Right.
Get it?
Would you say Max's and my or Max and my's? I know the answer.
No,
No, you wouldn't say
question.
you wouldn't say my's. You would say Max and my podcast.
But you wouldn't say Max's and my. You would say Max and my.
I like Max's and my.
What
I would
about
say Max's.
what if you want to maximize your viewership?
Well, actually,
Right,
here's another thing: is I've actually, with regards to that, actually, when you said Max's and my, I believe I read that it is up to the writer whether or not they want to put the possessive apostrophe s after the first person in that phrase or not. So you could either say Max and my or Max's and my. I believe. Don't quote me on. Don't take it with a grain of salt. But I think I looked on that on a grammar exchange or something like that. I believe.
That makes me think of crap. I can't think of it on the spot. But there's another example that's similar to. And I'm just wasting time because I can't think of what it is.
Hey,
so
don't feel self-conscious about it, Nickon.
Nickon, you're wasting
it's
time
live.
in front
I
of
can't help
live
it.
people.
I know. Jesus, I'm so embarrassed. My buddy Jeff Lamb just joined, and I look like an idiot.
Jeff Lamb just joined.
From Los Angeles. Your guys'
Jeff
hometown.
Lamb.
Yeah, the Jeff Lamb.
I noticed that Cammie said a little bit ago that it'd be funny if we were all in the same room and we all had our iPhones going directing toward each one of us. Anyway, that
would that cancel out the reverb, or would that just be like
no? That would be
just
triple
be
time.
Sort of an insane.
Another
feedback
stupid
loop.
question live in front of a live audience. Jesus.
I am going to need to plug in my phone in a second, though, Max.
Okay. Well, let's think about a topic that we were thinking about. Let's think about a topic that we were thinking about.
I'm not ready to move away from grammar, guys.
Okay, go ahead. What's your
pet
This
peeve?
really like
grammar
this isn't a
corner
pet peeve. This is the opposite of a pet peeve in that I think it annoys a lot of other people actually. But I like to use the Queen's English spelling for like whenever I can. So I will spell color COLOUR.
Oh, that is annoying.
And
I do not like that.
Labor, LABOUR.
Yeah, whatever you got. And I just love it. And there's something really satisfying about seeing it underlined in red, you know?
Right.
By the spell check.
Right.
I just love it. It's like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just, like a,
well, you know what's interesting?
Contrarian thing, but
you know, there's sometimes
go ahead.
I get so used to, sometimes I'll be spelling something and I'll accidentally spell it in the Queen's English, because I'm thinking that that's the correct way. There's an example of this that I came across recently that I can't think of right now.
Well, here's
theater.
What's that?
Theater.
Yes, theater. That's right.
I love
No,
spelling
No,
theater.
no.
That is the
Time
example
out.
that I came upon recently, Nickon. Because here's the thing, I took an acting. I took an acting class my very last, actually, summer session in college, and the teacher, she was unsure. She said, "How do you spell theater? Is it THEATER or is it THEATRE?" And I had been under the impression that theater, there was a differentiation between theater as like an art form and theater, like the genre of art form, or an actual
like
theater that you go
theater.
to. Yeah.
Right.
And she said, no, actually, that's not how you differentiate. And then recently I came upon, I was writing something I had to submit to a musical theater thing. And I was like, am I spell check was like misspelling, saying you're misspelling this, basically underlining it. And then I looked it up, and yes, it was the English way versus the American way. And in most Americans, spell it with ER, and British people generally do it with RE.
Now, Nicky feels very strongly about this.
Well, no, I actually noticed that a lot of Americans, especially in New York, because there's a lot of theaters in New York, I noticed that there's a lot of THEATREs here in reference to the theater company, for example, what it's called.
Sure.
But I think we can all agree that Americans, if you're going to the theater, it would be ER.
Disagree.
Oh, wow. Okay, never mind.
Well, that's just because I mean, it's a preference thing. And again, it's like the anti-pet peeve.
No.
Where it's
I'm saying what shows up the
most.
What shows up the most.
Right, sure, shows up the most. I also, on this topic, I like to pronounce it aluminium, not aluminum.
Oh, now that's really pretentious, Nickon, I gotta say.
Yeah,
That's
but
incorrect.
I mean, you know, coming out of this phase, it's like I don't think it's very easy for me to come off as pretentious. I think I have a little bit of license there.
I will say something
Speak
that I was
amongst you. I'm going to plug in my phone real quick.
All right. Well,
Okay,
Nicky's going
I'll
to
be
plug
right
his
back.
phone, but I'll continue to speak. Something that I was unsure about for a very long time.
There's Max. Look at that, Max from. Oh, that's actually the Instagram Live audience isn't going to see that. Sorry. Keep going.
They're not going to see that. They're just saying, yeah, if you see this on our YouTube channel later, you will see me twice in this Zoom session. But toward and towards, what do you say? He was coming
usually
toward
say
me.
Towards sounds towards. Huh. I think I default to toward because towards sounds a little colloquial to me. I think that's the only reason for me.
Well, the reason it sounds colloquial or colloquial? No, it's colloquial. Colloquial with the W.
Colloquial.
Yeah. No, it's of course colloquial.
Yes.
Right. Sometimes do you ever get the thing where you start saying something over and over again, then you start to think, wait, is this the correct way? Am I like you know
or like
the
you
correct
say it so many
way.
times it loses meaning. Like glad. What is glad? Glad? What is glad? You can just do that. It's pretty quick for me. I don't know. It's maybe it's an ADD thing. Anyway,
No,
so
well,
you were
here's the
saying.
thing where you start to think, yeah, is this even a word? Am I actually saying this correctly?
Glad?
That you start saying it so much, you start to lose. Yeah, it starts to lose any sense of meaning, or even if you're spelling it correct, if you're saying it correctly, you're just like, what? Am I correct in this? But
If
anyway,
you're,
go ahead.
Yeah, go. Oh, well, you're
What was I going to say?
I'm back.
I believe the
thank
reason
God.
it sounds more correct to you, or just it sounds more colloquial, is because towards, I believe, is the way Americans tend to say it, and toward is the way I believe that British people tend to say
You
it.
know, I
There you have it.
eliminate the S often.
Oh,
That's what
often
I
and
was saying, I
often.
do too.
Oh, often and often. What do you say?
Often, no
You
brainer.
guys are incorrect. It's
Often.
often.
I agree.
Often. That
Often?
sounds
Often.
pretentious. It's often.
No,
No,
often is how it's pronounced, and then often is how like some shithead off the street says it, and that's why we all feel more comfortable saying
Well,
it.
I guess I'm that person off the street. That
Yes, some poo-poo head.
poo-poo head, as you
What
said.
about this really bothers me more than anything being in New York. I think I only hear it from New Yorkers or like Long Islanders, which are I guess New Yorkers in a way. If you are standing in a queue for something, you're in line. You're not online.
Oh, I hate when people say online. I'm like,
I'm online
it's
over
in
here.
line.
Yeah, I'm in line. I'm in the line because you take it from I'm in the queue to I'm in line. I'm in the line.
Well, it's
online is
interesting
when
you
you're on
say
the
that.
internet.
We were just watching an episode of Seinfeld last night where a guy said, "Hey, I'm online here." Yeah, we were watching an episode of Seinfeld yesterday, and one of a guy and sort of an extra with a one line said, "Hey, I'm online here." And I'm like, online? God, these New Yorkers, what are they talking about with this online?
New Yorkers.
You're in a line.
These New Yorkers over here.
But hey, we're all from California, so. Oh, you know what really bugs
These
me,
New Yorkers
guys?
over here. I'm from California, and these New Yorkers over here.
You know what really bothers me is, and this is not a grammar thing, but when these East Coasters say Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, Mario.
Now that is a pet peeve for sure.
Oh yeah,
It's Mario.
It's Mario.
When have you met a Mario
That's more of an
before?
accent thing though than like a improper grammar. But
That's
I mean,
true.
Yes, it bugs me too.
It's not
But also,
Mario Puzo. It's a Mario Puzo. It's
Well,
not
according to them, it would be Mario.
Mario Cantone.
Well, no,
it's Mario Cantone.
but you do hear Mario's voiceover will say, "It's a me, a Mario." He doesn't say,
That's
"It's
true.
a me, a
You
Mario."
go off of how he prefers his name to be pronounced.
Right.
It's like last week's episode, where I was talking about the the guy at the pool calling me Nico.
Oh, yeah, right.
And I boomingly corrected him because it was an indoor pool.
Right.
Right.
Now, Nicky, you had mentioned right before Mario, you had said, what did you say? You mentioned something?
Well, if he said it, he said, oh, it was.
No, because
I don't know.
I'm
I
trying to
can't
remember what I wanted to say.
I can't
Let's have a
remember.
recap on the episode.
I wanted to, God, there was another pet peeve of mine. I can't remember now.
Well, I will say this.
we were talking about
this is not a pet peeve, but
versus inline.
do you
And then
say
what was
do you
after
say comfortable or comfortable?
Oh, I remember what it
I say comfortable.
Oh, I don't like that.
comfortable?
I say comfortable, not
I
comfortable.
feel like I've had this
No,
conversation
I
too
mean,
many
Nicky,
times.
you don't
with too
say
many people.
comfortable. Normally, you would say comfortable.
I never say comfortable. I always say comfortable.
Now that
You say
sounds
comfortable? That's
Yeah.
so many syllables.
It
just
sounds
to
really
say-
pretentious. Okay, how about this?
Comfortable.
Do you say
Comfortable.
Do you say laboratory or laboratory?
I say laboratory because it's fun, but I don't like seriously say it.
Well, I don't seriously say it, but I
To the
kind of seriously
laboratory.
say
Also,
it in
how
that.
often? I
in
don't know.
that
I don't
it-
really say.
I don't say. I say probably lab actually more than anything else. I don't
Right.
actually say laboratory or laboratory.
Do you say when you're going to the bathroom? Do you say you're going to the
Washroom?
lavatory?
No, I would never say that.
You guys took the
closet.
New
You
York
say
Times.
you go to the
New York
water
Times
closet.
did like a quiz, I don't know, 5 years ago, where you. I think it's like 20 or so questions, and depending on your answer to like how you like, do you say car park or garage? Do you say
Car
whatever.
park?
Car park?
I don't know. Do you say washroom or water closet or whatever? And like based on your answers,
Restroom
it
and
can-
bathroom would be
restroom,
interesting.
bathroom. Well, yeah. But it tells you, it guesses with pretty good accuracy where you grew up. It's very interesting.
Really?
That's
Oh,
pretty
wow.
good.
Okay,
Yeah,
let me
check it
ask
out.
you this, Nickon, because this seems to be a difference between Northern and Southern California.
Yes, I do say hella.
No,
No, that's actually, you know what's interesting is I did first hear that in Northern California, but that has spread to the rest
Oh,
of the
of
country,
course.
actually. I mean,
no. What
Yeah.
I was going to say is, do you say you're driving on the 101 or driving on
this is
101?
This is a classic. Yeah. I say on 101, but I don't find it
wrong.
as interesting a topic as like a lot of people do. It's like on the. I mean, I don't know. Maybe sometimes I do say the 101, but like, who cares?
oh, do you say the.
you say you're
the
riding-
the
do you-
mass transit system
do you
in the
say-
Bay Area is called
Bart
BART.
Do you say
Bart.
you're riding on
Not
BART
the
or you're
Bart.
riding on the BART?
on Bart.
But would you
Riding on
say
BART.
I'm riding Bay Area mass transit, or do you say I'm riding the Bay Area mass transit?
You don't do that.
No, but that's what you. It is.
I say I'm on the BART.
I would
Well-
normally say I'm on the BART, but the last time I was in this past, a few weeks ago, we were in the Bay Area, and I found myself saying,
Bay Area,
Plainly-
not the Bay Area. You just say
I
Bay.
was. But I found myself. I found myself saying, "I'm riding BART. I'm going to take BART." I did
Yeah, you're on
find
BART.
myself saying that.
Well,
now, just
anyway.
one more thing.
Man, this is becoming a pet peeve episode. Go on.
Yeah.
Do you say folk or folk?
Folk. Folk.
Yes.
I say folk.
That's now that's pretentious.
Well, whoa. I say folk. I say folk music.
you do. Oh, great!
Incorrect,
Yes,
but I
it's
say-
incorrect. It's
But
He
I
agrees
say
with
like
me.
carny folk. Carny folk.
Yeah, I would say
that's where folk. That's
No,
where
no.
the folk
No.
music comes
Hold on,
from.
hold on, Max.
It comes from folk.
I know,
no,
but
like
it's
the
different
folk.
context.
Max, hold on. I say how you doing, folks, but I say folk
Folks.
music.
Yes,
But
exactly.
yes,
You know
thank
what?
you,
Folks.
thank you.
Folks.
According to
How you
any-
doing, folks?
If you look on any online if you look at any dictionary online and they have the pronunciation, none of them say folk. They all say folk. Whereas in often, they do have both pronunciations listed as an often or often. But folk, just folk, and that's it. So that is.
I will say, here's one more thing that this is kind of really.
that reminds me of
Dumb of me.
Cletus the slack-jawed yokel.
Yeah.
You know that song from The Simpsons?
Yeah.
I want to look up the lyrics.
Yokel, Cletus, the
Some
slack
folk will
jawed
never eat a
yokel.
skunk, but then
Oh,
again,
he's-
some folk will.
Hey, I could call
Like
my ma
Cletus.
from here. Hey, ma, get off the roof.
Hey, what's going on this side? All right. Come on, what were you saying?
Hey, what's going on this side?
Most folk will never lose a toe, but then again, some vocal. Likely it is the slack-jawed yokel.
No, well, I think what they're saying is folk, like folk apostrophe LL.
Like, yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
I tell you, The Simpsons used to be so funny. I mean,
Hot take.
well, it's true. The Simpsons were... they're in my... Seasons 1 through 8 of The Simpsons is in my top 5 shows of all time.
Yeah, I don't, you know.
But it became a different show after that.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Yeah. For a lot of people, I believe.
Yeah,
For a lot of
most.
people, yeah.
Most people with an IQ above. I actually, do you guys know what the IQ scale is? I don't even know.
I think
like,
80
what's a good
is
IQ?
the cutoff limit for being considered mentally handicapped. If you're
Oh,
below
really?
that.
80. Okay.
Well, and then
so now I feel bad. Now that you bring in mentally handicapped, I feel bad for even bringing it up. But
oh well, no. This is what they say, and then if I think it's 120 means you're 120 is the no.
I think it means
is
you're.
it
I
on
think
an
100 is
exponential
the
scale,
average
or
or something like that.
Well, here's the thing, Nickon. There's
that
actually a
would
few
make
different.
and
IQ
then 120 is like
you're above average.
you're above average. I think 140 is you're a genius, and I think
look
something
it up
like
right here.
150
I'm
or
looking it up.
160 means you're like a
Well,
super
actually, Nickon,
genius.
here's the thing about it is there are actually a few different IQ tests. Actually,
sure. Oh, really?
yeah, a few different scales, I believe, and
But they're all called IQ?
Yeah, it depends on who, which standard you're going with. I mean, obviously, different IQ tests are going to have different questions, but
well, here's one, guys.
I think there's different methodologies.
Now, how do we
that-
scale the EQ test? Huh?
Oh.
Well, I think that's generally done. I mean, I don't think there's a. Well, I don't know.
There's no
actually.
test. There's no EQ test.
Well, no,
It's
people-
just
Well,
like that
maybe I
guy's
should make
got-
one.
He's like, they should. I think that's
No, they
in
do.
one of the ways that's more important.
Actually, jobs often will give you a sort of a personality test.
Now, they're often
that will
or
kind of
often
measure
give you
sort of
that.
a certain
Quite
emotional
often.
quotient.
Well, anyway, let's try to get into a real topic here, guys.
Well, I
'cause
kind of like this topic actually. What's more important, IQ or EQ? Is that a top? Is that?
Oh,
worth
Well, I think
Okay.
we'll maybe all agree that EQ is more important.
No, hold on. Whoa,
for
whoa,
society?
whoa, whoa!
Well, no,
I don't
let's
agree
just
with that,
keep it-
Max.
Let's keep it loosely defined and say important, and then we can say like, well, this is more important for society.
Okay, so
Like-
for those of you who are just joining us, on our podcast, Splitting Hairs with
Hi,
Max Nicky
Gidana
Nickon,
just joined in. Gidana, hey.
on our podcast usually with Splitting Hairs with Max Nicky Nickon, which is what you're tuning into right now on Instagram Live. What we usually do is we pick a moderator and we pick somebody that takes one side and the other person takes the opposing side. So in this case, who would like to be the moderator? Who wants to take the side of IQ is more important, and who wants to take the side that EQ is more important?
I mean, I'll gladly take the moderator position on this because I automatically, I'd like to hear what the arguments are of IQ being more essential in society. Because
all right, I can do that. Didn't you moderate last week though? I think there's something else.
I haven't moderated in a while, but
I think there's something aesthetically pleasing about the two of you being against each other. And
Okay.
since this is live, I kind of would
Okay,
like to see that.
we'll
but
try
that's
it.
the
I'm
only
taking the
reason.
part of IQ is more
I'm
important.
taking EQ more important.
All right, and I will moderate.
And here, okay, right off the bat, look,
This is your
that-
opening statement.
statements. Opening
I think
statements.
that people are the choices they make, especially when it comes to voting in this country, are often determined by their emotions.
Sorry, which position are you taking?
I'm taking the part of IQ.
Okay.
And they're not thinking because they're not smart enough to realize that Trump is not a good candidate. And so you have a lot of these people who they think with their emotions too much. Their EQ is outweighing their IQ in that situation, and I think that's
so you're
a problem.
saying that EQ is more important.
No, I'm saying IQ is more important.
So, okay, my understanding of what you're saying is people are voting emotionally rather than rationally,
Yeah.
and therefore it's better for them to be smart. I don't know, like you can be very smart and And
Still think emotion. Yeah, actually, here's the thing. I was reading an article recently about this man who is considered perhaps the smartest person in America. I think his IQ is through the roof. I mean, it's really crazy. He is, though, however, he's a real conspiracy theorist and a Trump supporter. And it's more something, the article was talking about something more wired in people's brains that tend to want to be conspiracy theorists. And by that kind of, a lot of those people tend towards Trump supporters, I guess. Not all the time.
Well,
I mean, not all the time. I don't want to generalize or anything like that, but
let's all first of all, let's all reveal our biases against Trump. Not that you have to be biased against Trump, but let's try to take that political judgment out
Biases,
of the equation.
I would've
yeah,
said
let's take the
biases,
political judgment
but-
out of the equation. Yeah, I know. See that. That's why I had a
sure,
problem.
sure. Okay,
There's some
But
very
your point
smart.
is still your point is still taken.
Yeah, there are
which
still
is-
very smart people that
Okay, so
are Trump supporters.
Nickon,
You know.
you
Well,
play
going
the
back to-
part of
well-
moderator very well. Yes, let's
Well, I
take.
want to hear more. I want to hear more about conspiracy theory and what. So kind of leading question, but it's my understanding that conspiracy theories are salient with their audiences because they speak to some emotional need.
Yes,
And
exactly.
so you can rationalize your way towards these, you can, first of all, you can make these really crazy leaps in logic, or you can ignore things altogether that go against the thesis of a conspiracy theory. What's more important is that it speaks to your emotional need.
Yeah.
And
So what's
that's what
interesting
you're
about that
saying.
is, yeah,
Is that what you're saying, Max?
well, what I'm saying is, even when presented with grounded, solid evidence to the contrary of their theories, they still will try to. I'm not sure if it's an emotional. They will try and rationalize their argument to fit within that evidence to make it so that their theory is correct somehow. You know, they'll be like, they'll try and figure out some counter argument that will, in their way, rationalize, them thinking this way, even though it is maybe this convoluted way of getting there. But yes, it is something. Maybe it's just an inherent mistrust of the man or of
Well, okay.
whatever.
Let's approach this from a
or
different.
of authority.
Let's approach this from a different angle then. Okay, on the dating site OkCupid,
Oh, here we go.
there is a question that says, "Do you lead your life according to emotion and feelings, or do you make decisions based on rationale and logic?" And I always say, "Oh, my decisions are usually based on logic, and the way I carry myself is dependent on logic." Now, I will say emotions can get in the way, but I think it is better to think about things rationally than with emotion.
Okay, but this is that's not the difference between IQ and EQ. Like, which one's more important? Just because you
Exactly. I
your
think
EQ is how.
Well, I'm changing the subject a little bit then.
Okay.
Well, but we're saying what's more important, IQ or EQ, right? And you're saying it's important to think rationally, but I don't think you can think rationally unless you
have a grounded
emotional intelligence.
Exactly. There you go.
To
Nickon.
identify a situation where you need to be, put on your rationality cap versus
Exactly.
flip out because this or that is happening, and I gotta vote for Trump now because they're taking away our everything.
Okay, so
Right.
what if somebody
Again,
what
you're
if
playing your
somebody what if somebody's
Kinda leaning
IQ,
into it.
not to disparage anybody, but what if somebody's IQ was pretty low and it drove you nuts all the time how
Yeah.
how often they got things wrong in life,
Yeah, this is interesting. So we can talk about lower bounds and upper bounds.
Sure. So what's the lowest you would go to No, this sounds really bad, actually.
Don't go. If it already feels bad inside.
Yeah, I don't
say
know. I don't know how to talk about this in a sensitive way. Actually,
This is kind of an interesting. If you look at something like, I mean, this is just a movie, but Forrest Gump is kind of a good example, maybe of how one might.
It is just a movie, yes.
It is just a movie, I suppose, but it is interesting
to a very extreme extent.
Yeah,
But
to an extreme
go on.
extent,
Yeah.
but he manages to get himself involved with all these groundbreaking events throughout history, and he has a low IQ, but he's kind of able to handle the situations maybe better than a lot of the people that he comes across.
Sure.
well, then that's the old saying: ignorance is bliss. In a way, I mean, is that what you're trying to say?
Well, no, that's not exactly what I'm saying. But
It's because he's so level-headed
Yeah.
that he's able to like navigate all these different situations.
Right.
I think we need to switch over our Zoom, guys. Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So those
there
of
might
you
be a
tuning in on
delay
Instagram
on
Live,
the
we're just going to switch over our Zoom to a new meeting.
I think we do it often.
Now that
actually.
we've talked about all those grammar things. Are those in your head now? Anyway,
No.
okay.
Okay, let's back to the. Okay, as a reminder, I'm the moderator. We're talking about EQ versus IQ. We talked about, well, we kind of avoided the lower bounds because it gets into kind of, I don't know. I don't think any of us is comfortable talking about the lower bounds of
Sure.
IQ.
Sure.
But let's talk about the upper bounds. Would you rather, and stake your positions accordingly, would you rather have a very, very unusually high IQ or a very, very unusually high EQ?
Well, here's the thing about
What does it mean to have a high EQ? I don't know how that's
I think
measured.
I think you're able to.
Would that be considered an empath, as they call it?
No, well, I think it.
Well, I think
let's
you're
hear
very
Max define
perceptive.
it.
You,
Yeah.
you are on maybe you're very perceptive to people's emotions
And does being
how
high-
that might. And I think you're also able to gauge a social situation better.
Okay, but if you're high-
and be able to respond appropriately and just maybe understand the situation.
But if you're
better.
high on the
I think there should be
EQ
a
spectrum,
component of. There should be a component of handling hard times and situations.
Yes, exactly.
sure. But if you're high on the EQ spectrum, does that mean that you're also very emotional? Which that would be a turnoff to me. I like somebody in
No.
touch with their emotions, but somebody that is
Yeah,
who
that's
is
what that means.
too emotional, I don't know about.
Wait,
that.
if
Someone
you have a
who's
high-
too emotional would have a lower EQ.
They would
than
have a
someone who
lower
has-
EQ.
Oh, is that
has-
true?
Has
Yeah.
a greater attunement to their emotions.
Yeah.
And
can be able.
that's how I'm defining
no,
it.
no,
At least. I don't know.
you are correct. Actually, somebody
I don't
that's-
know, you know.
somebody that's
I wouldn't think you would argue like if somebody's just spending all day crying. I wouldn't think you'd be like, oh, that guy's got a really high EQ. over there.
EQ. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, in
Well,
fact,
look at that guy with the high EQ
in
over
fact,
there.
I feel that people with high IQs might be a little too stubborn and maybe overly emotional about certain things because their high IQ might they might not be able to relate as well to the common man. Maybe
Would that not
Because
be a
they
turn on to you for
over-rationalize everything.
Okay, Max,
Yeah.
say you were going out with a girl whose IQ was really high. They were in Mensa. And that would be a turn on for
What's
me.
Mensa for our audience and for me?
Mensa is an organization that I believe Steve Martin belongs to. Where
Oh, is that right?
It's an organization for Mensa is an organization that people can join if they have an IQ above 150. I believe that is the requirement.
Why would you? What does this organization do for you if you join it? It's
I
just
don't know.
like
You
I
just
don't know, but I
like
believe
a knighthood where it's
pontificate
just like- yeah.
and discuss things in a pretentious way.
right. So yeah, somebody with a high IQ.
So basically, Mensa is the Splitting Hairs podcast.
well, I think Alex Trebek was a part of Mensa actually.
Yeah.
Alex
I've never
Trebek.
understood. Well, anyway.
I would
well, okay,
imagine that the
back to
people
this, though.
in the Algonquin table, the Algonquin table, those group of sort of highfalutin entertainers.
They weren't
and-
highfalutin necessarily. They were just
regular
satirists.
I know, but I imagine those people. If you not familiar with the Algonquin table,
I'm not sure
People-
I think many people are
In the
familiar with-
20s and 30s, there was a group.
Actually, it started, I think, in
there
the
was a
late
group
teens,
of
19-teens.
there was a group of entertainers and not just entertainers, but people in sort of the limelight, I guess you could say, that met together once a week to discuss various topics in a somewhat pretentious.
Not in a pretentious
no,
way.
but also
actually.
they would.
It was a bunch of like comedic people
So,
actually. And in fact,
Harpo Marx was a part of
it.
this.
Not pretentious at all. Harpo.
So
I
was
believe.
Dorothy
I would
Parker. Dorothy Parker, if you don't know who that was, she was a famous
too many
writer of the New
explanations
Yorker.
here, guys.
I know. Yeah.
This comes from being a knowledge sponge. I like reading Wikipedia articles a lot, and anyway. Am I sounding pretentious right now? Probably.
Well, you're just sounding. Let's get back to what you were trying to convey.
Yeah. What were we trying to convey here?
What I was trying to say is, I would consider that Mensa would have
Right.
discussions in the same way that the Algonquin table people would.
Sure, but you were saying something before that. You were saying something.
I was defining Mensa.
Okay, but before that, why did you bring up Mensa in the first place? You were like,
Because
hey,
it's
you
people
know,
with higher IQs
I would
are a part of
say
it.
I said I would find it very attractive if
we're talking
a girl
about, if
was
you were-
a member of
Or a
Mensa.
woman was a member.
Or a woman was a member of Mensa. I would be like, oh man, I want to go out with her.
Okay, but that's like on paper. But like, how would
Yeah.
you feel? Would you
Exactly.
feel?
What if she was overly emotional and she was not? She was just not
or,
able
or
to,
not, or unemotional altogether. Like
or
not
unemotional altogether, or not
overly
perceptive.
rational.
Yeah, exactly. Not very
Yeah.
perceptive to the emotional power of a situation. And
Well, if you're
wasn't-
that
and it was kind of robotic. Actually,
if you lack
know?
that much perception of emotion, then that would actually consider, and gosh, how do we discuss this in a sensitive way? That you would be considered maybe on the spectrum, right?
Well, that's independent of IQ and well, I mean, not
actually-
independent, but like
I don't think it's. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I don't. I think it's actually very much correlated to EQ. I believe.
is that right?
I don't quote me on that. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not
let's,
a.
Oh
I'm
man,
not-
I think we're out of
let's veer away from
our
the lower
territory
bounds.
here, guys.
All right, so
This is a touchy subject, actually.
so it sounds like
Well, it's good to have
so
these
Nicky,
conversations.
I don't know. Let's hear the full argument again. You'd rather date someone with a high
No,
IQ.
okay.
Mensa more like womensa.
That's very good.
Okay,
good.
okay. Here's the thing.
Not
is
laugh out loud good, but very good.
I
I'm just kidding. Les Gem. Les Gem, do you guys know? Yeah.
I would rather. I mean, hey, you want a mix of both of them, right? I mean,
Sure,
truth be
of course,
told, right?
But listen, we're splitting hairs here. So which one? Argue for why it's better to either date someone or be someone who has a high IQ and an average EQ.
Oh, and an average EQ, I think.
I guess both situations.
I
are pretty
like
good.
some. I like when people determine or make decisions. That's just hard to just. I think it's. I think it's cool and it's neat to be smarter and be dating somebody that's smarter, but they still have at least an average EQ, so they still can be somewhat in touch with their emotions and have some empathy. But so I guess this is the question: would you rather be or go out with somebody who has a high IQ but an average EQ, or
I think
a
let's
high
make it
EQ
more-
and an average IQ?
Now let's make it more interesting because the average thing really makes it too easy. It's like you can't lose that way. High IQ, very low EQ.
Okay.
High EQ, very low IQ.
Okay, that
For me,
is
it's very
tough.
clear. For me,
You're
it's
making some
very
extreme.
Oh, it's very clear.
Okay,
For
but
me,
that,
yes.
okay. If that's the case, then
And I'm saying above like the whatever the
right.
The threshold where it might become.
Okay,
It's like,
I probably would go out with somebody who has. This is a tough question, but I mean, I feel like I want to switch sides now. I guess I would rather go out with somebody who has a high EQ but a very low IQ, as long as it surpasses the threshold, and because
Getting to a touchy subject.
I don't
here.
know. I know this is a bit of a touchy subject, but but it would bother me, I guess, if they made these, for lack of a better term, ignorant. If they said ignorant things due to their lack of intelligence, I guess.
Sure, but
perfect example
on the
is
other hand,
I remember when we were in high school, we went
By
out.
the way, ignorance does not necessarily.
ignorance is different than lack of intelligence.
Right.
Sure, no,
Again,
I know.
think we're
Okay,
getting into-
I said for lack of a better term, though.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. I'll allow it.
I remember when we were in high school, we went out to dinner with some friends, a group of friends, and this friend of ours was going out with this girl who was kind of stupid. I mean, hey, that's just the way it was. And we were reading the menus, and she said, I kid you not, she looked at the menu, she said, entry? What's an entry?
Oh boy. Oh boy.
And we just thought, okay, and maybe this is an ignorant thing. Maybe she didn't learn what an entree was.
Yeah, that's an ignorance thing. Yeah,
But
that's like maybe that's like a lack of culture.
that's what I'm trying to say is when I'm talking about
I know someone
IQ,
who,
it's more.
I actually don't remember who
I'm
it
using
was,
the
but
word. What's that?
They used to say they read the word Chihuahua as Chihuahua, which is that's just more fun.
That is really funny, and sometimes the
Oh wow!
people who know less are more they're endearing, I guess. Like Ringo Starr, they got a lot of the Beatles got a lot of album titles and song titles because of Ringo Starr's lack of knowing, or he thought things were expressions that weren't, like A Hard Day's Night. That was a Ringo Starr thing. That was A Hard Day's Night doesn't mean anything, but he thought that was an expression. Or Tomorrow.
Really? Is that right?
Right, because it would be
fun, though, but
it's fun, and I don't think
that's
that's
the
Tomorrow
beauty
Never
of,
Knows
like-
was
In
another
fact,
Ringo Starr.
Ringo
thing.
was extremely witty. I mean, if you see him in interviews, sometimes he's just so quick. Actually, He's
That's
really
true.
good.
Ringo
There's like
was, it was the funniest one.
Poeticism to the nonsensicality of it.
Sure.
Nonsensicality.
So maybe it was a bad idea bringing up the Beatles in this, or Ringo Starr in this
Speaking
situation.
of
But
nonsensicality.
okay, so when we're talking about IQ, maybe I'm using the term a little bit more loosely, and for me, it's applying to ignorance too, or not knowing the basics of the English language or basics of mathematics. For example, another example is when we were in ninth grade, our English teacher and the principal, they were trying to figure out some simple mathematical problem, some simple arithmetic, and they couldn't figure it out. And I thought, man, these are our teacher and principal doing this. I thought that was embarrassing on all parts.
Public school, man.
And
arithmetic or arithmetic.
and I thought that I didn't like that. And in that case, I would have preferred a higher IQ for the teacher and principal.
Well, in education, sure you want.
Oh, well, then that's a good
yeah.
example.
Well-
With your teachers, would you prefer a higher IQ or a higher EQ?
Well, you do want somebody that is maybe sensitive to the needs of a student.
That's true.
Yeah.
But you also want somebody that is smart, obviously. You would
So
want
sorry to hear that, Gemma.
It's cursed. Gemma says I'm cursed with a freakishly high IQ, EQ, and stunning look, and talent. It's really tough.
Oh boy, yeah, that is. Well, actually, that is an interesting thought. Is if you had a high EQ,
Out with it.
well, I was going to say, if you find yourself, I mean, maybe that's bordering on maybe a narcissism, but if you actually were took tests and if you were high level on a lot of stuff, would you find that to be a curse? Because maybe
If you had a high IQ and if
High-
you had both,
if you had if you were high IQ, high EQ, very talented,
Very good
very
looking.
good looking, would that be a curse in a way? Because maybe would you
I
find that?
I think the high EQ would take the cursedness away from it because
That's-
if you have a
that's
high
true.
EQ,
That's true.
then like nothing, again, my
Well,
definition of it,
not
you're
necessarily.
impervious to the frustrations of everybody around you being a relative moron, right? I don't know. Are you allowed to say moron?
Sure. Look, it's fine to say moron. Okay, that's fine.
Well, no,
You heard it
actually,
here.
no, I don't agree with this. I don't necessarily agree with this. You might be very, you might be very grounded
Emotionally
and have a
intelligent,
strong emotional grounding in things.
Emotional grounding.
What?
You might be very emotional. You might be very grounded. You might have a strong emotional grounding in things. That's what you just said.
Right, but
I don't know. That tracks.
yeah, but for a romantic relationship, you just have a hard time relating to somebody, and that might, that's understandable. Actually, you want somebody who's at your level in some way,
Who's within your range, at least.
Yeah. So that could
But
be.
that's
a
the
person.
beauty. I mean, we don't. I don't think we necessarily go through the world with a precise sense of each other's IQ or EQ.
No, of course not. And actually, to be honest, if you did have a high EQ, you could maybe recognize better that, well, maybe this is just more of a biological thing, but the chemistry between two people, how much of that is determined by your it's just you two or just have that connection, and how much of it is it determined by the same interests that you might have, or maybe intelligence too, that
I think
within the same range,
This might be a topic for a different episode, but I think shared interests is one of the most overrated criteria
I agree.
for a relationship,
Yes.
whether it's romantic or otherwise. Maybe
I
not
guess
otherwise.
I don't
not
agree with that.
necessarily otherwise.
Well, we can save it for another
Save it
episode.
for
I don't wanna
another
get into
topic.
it. I don't wanna-
Goodness, this is a great topic.
That is a great topic. Maybe even next week's topic. So
even next
if you're
week's.
tuning in right
Tune
now,
in.
tune in next week around the same time on a Saturday, early evening, and we'll be talking
On
about
that note, I would love closing statements, unless there are any other big points anybody wants to make.
Well, I guess, look,
I think
I
we
guess
might
you
have
guys-
changed Nicky's mind here.
you guys are right.
No?
If I were
Sure,
to choose
some,
between somebody having a high IQ and a low EQ, or somebody who has a high IQ and a low E. Did I say that
Well,
right?
again, the question is just I guess you veered towards dating, but like
What's more
I said
important,
towards.
high IQ or high EQ?
Yes,
And
right. And
I
sometimes we haven't-
suppose-
like what's better for society, what's better for you, what's
Yeah.
better in a relationship.
I suppose maybe you guys are right. Higher EQ is better, as long as the IQ is within average range.
Sure.
And
Lower part of the average part of the bell curve.
sure.
Let's say that.
And I think that, yeah, I mean, I guess that's, yeah, because, and I hate to bring it back to politics, but this is something that is plaguing our country right now. But I would say somebody like
remember,
Donald
we have
Trump.
some Floridians tuning in right now. So,
I would,
be
but I
careful
would
what you're
say
about to
that Donald Trump probably doesn't have a high EQ, right? And
I think that's a safe
and
claim to make.
and that is a problem for the country right now, and it was while he was
Certainly.
president. So yes, I agree. Higher EQ is more important. You've changed my mind.
There you have it, folks. But okay. So that's I think I agree. I'd rather interact with someone with a higher EQ. But I
Yes.
will say that
But what might be a more fun
maybe
conversation to have?
Maybe society is better off with, like, if we would have more people with a higher IQ. Because, like, I think
What?
Elon Musk is a perfect example of this. And, like, Twitter aside, which that's a pretty big thing to set aside, but, like, I think his lack of EQ has not gotten in the way of his ability to innovate
Pursue innovations and things?
with these other technologies that are actually helping society advance. Again, but then
Twitter
you
aside,
can't isolate,
because
you can't
he
isolate
does
Twitter
seem to
from-
have a
yeah.
low EQ actually.
Well, I think,
That's
and
what
I
I'm
think
saying, yeah.
Well,
I
yes,
think that's a
he-
problem.
In
Big
a,
problem.
I agree. I think I don't know. It's
it depends on what you're going for. In leadership roles,
Sure.
I think you need somebody that has a high EQ. But
Right. Who can tap
in
people.
the technical, innovative fields that require you to just be really alone, actually, not necessarily work with a team.
Sure.
Maybe IQ, although it's very hard in certain technological fields, you need to at some point work with a team on something. But
Well, what
then,
if it's
then at
like
some
you
point
have-
you would
you
need to
have
hire
someone-
somebody else for that. But
You have someone with a high EQ at top.
Yeah.
At the top, and they are able to, tap
Facilitate.
people with high IQs for their various strengths and put
Exactly.
it all together and bring something beautiful.
right,
But there's,
to life.
you know,
I don't know.
but there seems to be a lot of low EQ, high IQ leaders of tech companies, right? Like, I mean, for example, Mark Zuckerberg as well, right? I mean, at least I'm making assumptions, but
That's an assumption though, because I don't know that he like. I mean, it's hard.
He
it's hard
does
to tell with
come
him 'cause
across
he's
as
like he's
a bit
awkward.
robotic, no?
Sure, yeah, sure, but like that's not like. I don't know. Does that
true,
mean he
but
has
some
a
people
low
have-
EQ?
yeah, and also in a public forums, just because I don't know what he's like in
Sure,
real life.
I'm making
but in a public
assumptions-
forum, somebody could just have
He's
an
morally
awkwardness.
bankrupt, but I don't know if that means he has a low EQ.
Well, that's an interesting
if
thing.
somebody's morally
if
bankrupt,
your
is-
ethics is that tied? Is your
great-
ethics
I don't know.
tied to your EQ?
I don't think it is.
I think it is.
I
Actually,
think it is.
because if you have if your ethics, well, everyone has their own moral compass, but I
Well,
think
no,
that
hold
I
on,
think
Max.
ethics. I think your ethics is a combination of IQ and EQ. Actually, it's like an ability to kind of be compassionate and empathize with other people,
exactly.
but also think rationally about
But no,
why.
I think. Hold on. I think.
Hold on,
that's
Max,
a problem
I
I
think
have with
you're
this
wrong about
conversation
that,
is
though.
Thinking rationally, I think that's part
Right.
of your EQ. Actually,
right, yeah,
that's
you're
more
right, you're
part
right.
of your EQ
No, yeah.
than your IQ.
I agree with that. That's what I said earlier too.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So I think actually your ethics or your moral compass is tied to EQ actually, because in just discerning your stance on something that is something morally right, I think something that is morally correct generally has to
Yeah.
do with general population and your understanding of how it might affect
Sure.
others.
But then you get into like a weird philosophical area where like just because something feels good, like
Okay, well
like-
then we're talking about a whole nother subject is what is ethically correct.
right, that's,
And Max, by the way,
I
I
don't have the degree.
we can't just say everybody has their own morals or moral compass, because and while I agree with you, Max, some people think that morality is universal actually, and I don't agree
No,
with that.
everyone does have their own moral
No,
compass.
some people think
Everyone has a moral compass. That's separate from whether there is a absolute morality.
There is no absolute
can have-
morality.
you
That's
can
why it's
have
always
no,
your
but
own-
some people think
there
that,
can-
Max.
But that seems that's not
I'm not
true.
convinced that there isn't like a universal morality, and we like with every generation or every individual, it's your compass is either more or less aligned with that. Well, this is now we're getting into a crazy.
We're getting it.
different area.
Well, hey,
This is another future episode
Splitting
here.
hairs, we go.
Yeah. Preview of things
Go
to
off on
come.
tangent. Tangents are formed.
Tangents are formed.
So let's finish the closing argument, or what?
I just want to say final thing. This will be my final statement is, just it has to do with this ethics. When I was in France, the director of my program, my study abroad program, she was talking about certain philosophy courses I could take. And at the time she said, oh, you can take this philosophy course on ethics. And at the time, yes, I did think ethics was so absolute in my mind. I thought, I don't want to take a class on this. This is going to be boring. Ethics, I don't need any help with that. I know what's right and what's wrong. Man, how much I regret not taking that course. I think it would have been very interesting, but I was young and I kind of just...
And you had a
Still
low
young.
IQ.
I
You're
guess
still young, Max.
I was confident in my understanding of the world because I was more ignorant, maybe.
Sure.
Final statement, Nickon?
No, I guess, yeah. Like I think my my bias has shown through the entire thing, but
Sure.
I think it's better in general
We
and
got Jeff in
day-to-day
the stream here.
day-to-day interactions to interact with people of higher EQ, but I do think that people of higher IQ tend to push us forward technological. I think, yeah, I don't know. You just need a combination. You need.
Sure.
I'm glad we have a little bit of both. I wish there were more people in power with higher IQ. Let's put it that way.
Higher
Yeah.
EQ.
Sorry, EQ. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Did I say
Anyway,
that? Yes.
thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't already done so, you can watch us on YouTube. You could subscribe on YouTube to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/splitting hairs pod or at splitting hairs.
Just
Or just
podcast.
go to
Just
all you
Google.
need to do. Here's what you do. You guys are on Instagram.
No,
right now?
hold on, Max.
What?
For those of you who are listening to just the audio,
Okay, sorry.
you can follow us on Instagram at Splitting Hairs Podcast, and all the appropriate links to listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you want to listen to us are in the bio. So make sure to do that.
The link tree in the bio.
Please rate and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts if you haven't already done
sorry.
so. That's
Yeah.
really helpful for us to gain viewership and listenership and to continue our podcast.
It helps us grow.
And helps us grow. And subscribe on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Splitting Hairs with Max, Nicky, and Nickon.
Please keep tuning in.